Okay, now I'll get the format. Okay, welcome everyone to the Monday evening, Clean and Serene at 7:15, meeting of Narcotics Anonymous. My name is Paul and I'm an addict, and it's great to see everyone. So this is the first Monday of every month. We do a interactive basic text workshop with Frankie here, who's been doing these for a lot of years, got a lot of experience around them, and the idea is that they're very kind of interactive. The clue is in the name, and we try and hear from as many people as possible on their experience. Tonight we are doing More Will Be Revealed, which is the final chapter, I think, before the stories, chapter 10. But let me just do a little bit of a preamble. So we'd like to welcome everyone here from wherever you are in the world. Special welcome to any newcomers. If you've not been to a workshop, either this one or any others before, please sit back and enjoy and get involved, because the newcomer is the most important person at any meeting, and we're all addicts of equal status here, freely helping one another. The chat is set to host and co-host only, so if anybody needs any support at any time during the meeting, if you want to put your number, if you want to connect with someone in the meeting, please put your number in the chat. Me or Matt, Frankie will be preoccupied with the workshop, but me and Matt are here to support you in any way that you want. So our message is simple, that any addict can stop using drugs, lose the desire to use, and find a new way to live. The literature tells us that this daily reprieve is the most profound gift the program offers us. Our purpose is to remain clean just for today and to carry the message of recovery. Take that all works for this workshop. We respond to honest sharing, for this is the antidote to our disease. So we're just going to have the girls from Jericho read one card, which is the disease of addiction, which Matt will share. And then one of you girls could read this one for us.
Hi. Can you hear me? Hi,
yeah.
I'm Serene and I'm an addict.
Hi, Serene.
The disease of addiction. What makes us addicts is the disease of addiction, not the drugs, not our behavior, but our disease. There is something within us that makes us unable to control our use of drugs. The same something makes us also prone to obsession and compulsion in other areas of our life. How can we tell when our disease is active? This is when we become trapped in obsessive, compulsive, self-centered routines, endless loops that lead nowhere but to physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional decay.
Amazing, Sabrina. Thank you so much. We'll just mute you. There you go. Okay, so the format is that Frankie will take the lead on this and help us through the text. I think the most important point is that this isn't obviously a standard format where the share back, let's take 4 minutes to share back. The workshops we find work best when they're kind of a bit fast moving. So when you put your hand up to feedback on a point or share, we find it with a minute and a half, 2 minutes max, so, and you can obviously come in and share as many times as you like, but we'd like to hear from everyone. So with that, I think, Frankie, why don't you come in and take over at this point and tell me if I've forgotten anything.
Thanks, Paul. No, you haven't forgotten anything. I just wanted to reiterate that I think we're about to have a lightning storm where I live. So I've got my staffy behind me there. So if he starts freaking out, I don't know if you can hear that thunder. Yeah, my name's Frankie. I'm an addict. Been doing workshops for a while. It doesn't mean I'm an authority on recovery. It's just anybody can do these workshops. I'll speak for a couple of minutes and then we'll get right into it. Tonight we're planning to do chapter 10 in the 6th edition of the basic text, which is MWBR, or More Will Be Revealed. And what we generally do with these with the readings out the basic text, it's a very old book. It was written in 1982 by the Fellowship. Different people contributed to getting this book together who are addicts from meetings, and they put in the book what worked, and they also put in the book some things that I don't agree with. I don't know if you agree with it. And they all voted on it, which was amazing. Thousands and thousands of addicts all contributed to this book, and the majority of this book is absolutely brilliant. However, we're 2022 now, so the basics are always good to have. They're always good to have, but we've evolved slightly. So one of the things I've learned with this book, which we learned a long time ago, about 10 years ago, myself and another addict called Aaron, we discovered, we did a workshop down in Portsmouth, and what we discovered was these guys who are back in the local prison, if two addicts together without any understanding of the program sit there and they read through the book and they look for things like suggestions or directions, and they ask the other person how you feel about that, or do you have any thoughts on it, what happens is, because two addicts come together with the purpose of recovery, thinking about that, a spiritual aspect happens. Recovery is created because you're both there with the same purpose. And that might sound a bit whack, but it's the magic of what happens with the program. When two addicts come together with the purpose of recovery, that's when the magic happens. When you're around addicts who come together because they've been sent by the key worker, or they've been told to go there, or they have to go to rehab because they're going to lose their children or something like that, those guys, unless they want it, they find it a lot harder. So that's why we say in every meeting we have, mainly we say, if you want what we have to offer and are willing to make the effort to get it, then you're ready. It's not being cheeky. You know, anyone can have recovery, but you've got to want it. And I've found in my experience, because I came to Narcotics Anonymous in 1992, I thought I wanted it. It took me 10 years of not being able to get it. And then at 2003, I wanted it so badly. It became the most important thing in my life. My daughter had been taken over by social services. I'd lost my business. I'd lost my house, all that. I'd lost this, I'd lost that. And yeah, I've worked really hard on it. And not only have I reclaimed so much more, I'm in a beautiful, loving relationship. I've got a lovely family around me. And yeah, I can expand on that because life is so good, but it hasn't been easy. It's all been work. So imagine two addicts together sitting down. They don't know anything. All they've got is this book. Now, if you was looking at this book, and I was saying to use Paul as an example to kick us off here, if I was in the reading more will be revealed, I'll get someone to read the chapter afterwards, Paul, if that's all right. We'll get someone to. But in the first paragraph, there's a sentence that says, we came to realize we had no power to change the outside world. We could only change ourselves. Now, Paul, if you don't mind, just so we can get the rhythm of this is how you do a workshop between two people. I'll say it again. What's your thoughts on that, Paul? We came to realize that we had no power to change the outside world. We could only change ourselves.
Okay, thanks, Frankie. Just, I mean, for me, because I'm always looking at, you know, just for today program, so I'm not looking at this like through a lens of using, and because what I've found is since I've stopped using drugs, that the biggest task I've had is to change the things today, you know, that are bending me out of shape. So like, you know, we were talking about, I'm in another step 6 just now. I'm doing a step 6 around very specific defects which take me hostage. So, you know, I suppose it's that thing I'm getting from that is that what you just said about becoming entirely willing and pain being such a great motivator. And it's like, hang on a minute, what I'm seeking here is freedom. You know, so, you know, what are the things which are getting in the way of that very frequently? that was the great realization of the program, that the drugs are off the table now, so I've got to work on these other things which are causing me misery, which aren't necessarily drugs, it's myself. So yeah, I don't know, that's kind of what comes up for me with those lines.
Well, thanks, Paul. That's a good start. And it's just about, this is about waxing lyrical and being honest to yourself. And, you know, of course I'll have a different answer because I'm 19 years clean. And for me, for example, I'll use Matt because we're friends and we know each other. I use Matt as an example. If I'm fucking angry at Matt, he don't give a shit. You know, he may be my friend. He may feel sorry for me being angry. It's me who has to deal with the anger, not Matt. So, you know, thanks, Matt, for letting me use you as an example. I'm not angry at him. But see, the thing is, if anyone's ever heard that thing of drinking poison and expecting the other person to die, you know, that's why we have to look at how we see it and how we change ourselves. So, yeah, also we've got Joe with us tonight, who's going to check some of the words for us, as doing most workshops. Pleased to always have Joe on board. Could we get someone's hand up who's capable and would like to read the first paragraph? The reason I say who's capable is not to take the piss. It's just I don't want anyone who's trying to learn English.
Okay, so Richard, would you please read lines 1 to 5, is it, Frankie?
The first paragraph ends at dream, yes, at line 8.
Okay, so the first 2 paragraphs, right? Okay.
Is it 2? Oh, yeah, sorry, my mistake.
No probs. Richard.
All right. Hello, my name is Richard. I'm an addict.
Hi, Richard.
More will be revealed as our recovery progressed. We became increasingly aware of ourselves and the world around us. Our needs and wants, our assets and liabilities were revealed to us. We came to realize that we had no power to change the outside world. We could only change ourselves. The program of Narcotics Anonymous provides an opportunity for us to ease the pain of living through spiritual principles. We are very fortunate to have had this program. Before, very few people recognized that addiction was a disease. Recovery was only a disease.
Thank you, Richard.
Thanks, Richard. Did everyone get that? Because from at my end, it sounded like Richard was in a submarine. Was that clear?
I think it was clear enough, and we've got it on the screen, haven't we?
Okay. Right, so the first line which we're going to pick from out of this is, can we have 3 people to share, no more than 2 minutes each, about their experience, because the question's from line 2. As our recovery progressed, we became increasingly aware of ourselves and the world around us. This is obviously about being clean and our experience about being clean. It doesn't mean you've gone through the steps. It means some awareness that you have of yourself and the world around you. 3 hands up.
So 3 hands. Just repeat that again, Frankie.
Okay. Just somebody to share some experience of being clean and being aware of their self and aware of the world around them. Just to share experience.
Sally, up you come, and then we'll get Al. And I'd watch that waiting room, by the way. Yeah, cool. Thanks, Sally.
Thank you, Paul. I'm Sally, I'm an addict. Yeah, when I heard that sentence and then just read it, the first thing it made me realise was when I'm clean, it's just the feelings I feel. That just shouted out to me feelings, and the self-obsession about everybody around me, what they're thinking, what they're doing. Are they thinking about me? Because I make it all about me, of course. So, you know, self-obsession. And just learning well, not about learning really. You just asked for the experience, didn't you? So sort of like, at what points did we become what point did I become increasingly aware of myself and the world around me? Yeah, and just like how sensitive and vulnerable I felt, especially in the early days. I suppose really only the experience I can share with that, because about 112 days back, and just not, I don't know, just not kind of, I could feel it, but not make any sense of it. Like, for example, I don't know, somebody could really piss me off. I'd get really angry for somebody doing absolutely nothing wrong. But in my head, it could be the worst thing in the world at that moment in time. So I suppose in early days, but as I progressed in my recovery, it was more about kind of like, well, how does my behaviour affect that? What is it that I do to people around me or the world around me? You know, where is my, I don't know, that's quite a big sentence, isn't it, really? I probably have more to think about on that one. But that's all I can share, yeah. Thank you.
And Earl, please come in and share with us.
Yeah, evening all. I'm Earl, I'm an addict. Yeah, for me, as our recovery progressed, we became increasingly aware of ourselves and the world around us. For me, what I notice is a lot when I'm actually at work, because I'm employable now. I'm in quite a responsible role. I work in the prisons and I work with NHS staff and practitioners and what have you. And with the greatest of respect, some of them just are really quite rude and what have you. And I know within me, my mind can still want to just say, who the fuck you talking to? You know what I mean? But I can catch myself and know that it's not appropriate to do that. And so I'm aware of how I can behave and how I should behave in the environments that I'm actually in, and try and practice the principles of our program in all my affairs. And I'm not saying I'll get that right all the time, but I get it right more often than not now, in how I conduct myself accordingly. And then aware of the world around us. Yes, it's an interesting one, because sometimes being aware of the world around me and where I live and the work that I do and the places I go and what have you. Sometimes I can see the beauty within the world, and then other times I can just see the damn right badness in the world, and knowing my own, what I can and can't do. You know what I mean? Flipping, and knowing my place within that. Being Yeah, I'm just very aware, even so much as like I'm sitting here now engaging in this meeting, and I'm looking out and knowing that there's nature right outside my window, where I know prior to actually finding recovery, I wouldn't have even acknowledged that. I wouldn't have looked at it. I wouldn't have been bothered. It would not have come onto my radar. But now when I want to sit down and just chill, I can just sit down, coming from work, do nothing apart from just look out the window and admire the world around me.
Lovely, Earl. Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for sharing. And Scott, please come in.
Thanks, Paul. My name's Scott. I'm an addict. Hi, guys.
Scott.
Yeah, for me, it's I'm finding it quite tough at the moment, actually, being aware of everything, because I don't learn particularly fast, in the sense that I make mistakes over and over again, kind of like the moth to the lamp. So I'm in a position with my step work where I'm writing a lot and I'm seeing a lot of patterns in my behaviour. And then what happens is, when I go out and then I repeat that behaviour, it's actually quite demoralising. And I'm in a. Sometimes it was easier being oblivious, is what I'm trying to say. When I was oblivious to anything and everything, it wasn't painful. And I'm at the position at the minute whereby I'm in this learning process, and it's actually getting me down a little bit, because I realise just how many times I'm probably acting on a defect at the minute. So, the reason I know it is because I feel it inside. But then what I'm noticing is I see it in people. I see it in people's faces, and then I want to take it back straight away, and I want to apologise. But sometimes you need to let it be, and so that, yeah, there's a lot of stuff around it. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, Scott. Sorry, Frankie, I think I muted you by mistake. I was trying to mute myself.
I was just doing a mind map. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, thanks for that, guys. Moving on, because that's really valuable. That's really, really valuable, because no one in fucking recovery tells you that, you know, in your first 100 days or so, Sally shared, you know, it's challenging. Everything's challenging. Even going to the supermarket to buy, you know, do I get organic or not? It's just everything can spin you out. And I'll totally identify, Sally, because I remember wanting to kill someone at a meeting, really wanting, I promise you, I wanted to kill this guy. My head was going to explode. And the following week I came to the meeting, and as I'm walking down, he offered me a cigarette and said, "Hey, Frankie, how you doing?" And he became my new best mate overnight, within a second. But the week before, you know, I'd planned, you know, his murder, and do we use lime or do we just whatever, you know, it's whatever. But, you know, moving on to number 3, our needs and wants, our assets and liabilities are revealed to us. I know Joe is going to realise I'm going to be calling on her in a second. Our needs and wants, our assets and liabilities, needs and wants, I just want more, don't I? Even in recovery, I want more. I know what I need recovery, but I want more of it, you know, it's not enough, I want more. So Joe, would you help us and let us know what an asset is and what a liability is? Because an asset's not a small donkey, is it?
Yes, thank you. Hi, I'm Joe, I'm an addict.
Hi, Joe.
But an asset in this context, you know, it's not a building or property. So a useful or value thing in a person, someone that provides a benefit, i.e. a sense of humour. And for your liabilities, a person or thing whose presence or behaviour is likely to put one at a disadvantage.
Ah, that's quite revealing, isn't it? I always was told that when I got on the gear, I was a liability, you know, so put everyone else at a disadvantage. Can we have some examples from some of you guys of your experience around what your assets are and what your liabilities could be? Let's try and get a balance if possible. Is that okay?
Yeah, let's have 3 hands up. Assets and liabilities should be easy for people like us.
Feel free to come back in as well, guys.
Yeah. Abby, let's get you unmuted.
Hi, my name's Abby. Let me get myself on camera, even though I look horrible.
Oh, we'd love to see Abby. Hello.
Hi. I'll give my version considering in step work. In step work, we get these questions asked repetitiously, and like every form imagined, we'll get the same question asked in different forms. And when we do step work, sometimes it seems as if it's really hard to answer the question, because in all the questions we get to feel down, and we get a lot of liabilities. But the beautiful aspect of step work is that in the end of the step, we get to speak about our assets. So a liability makes us feel as if like maybe sometimes there's no good to us. As addicts, when we come into recovery, we feel that there's no good part about us. We feel as if everything's bad about us. We're pieces of shit, excuse my language, or we just are a mess up and there's nothing good about us. All we did was know how to use. But at the end of the day, coming into recovery, we learn by other addicts teaching us and our friends showing us that there's so much good about us. We're kind. We're one of the hardest workers when it comes to working on our recovery and working on ourselves. We are amazing people who are probably the most knowledgeable about life and the most wise people when it comes about probably every subject known to man. Because when it comes to using, you have to have the skills of life. And if you know those skills of life, you can get by with every other skill of life, because we are in survival mode. And that teaches us to survive life inevitably on every single level we could possibly imagine. So with all our liabilities that we think we actually have all the assets to get by on every single level.
Thank you,
so
Abby.
That's my share on that.
Brilliant.
Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Abby. That's quite a powerful talk. We're trying to focus on personal experience. What you said is absolutely wonderful. but what we'd like contributes on is real life experience, which is personal, so we can help each other. That's the format of the workshop. Thank you.
Barry. Oh, there you go.
Hi everyone, my name is Barry and I'm an addict. Thanks Paul and Frankie and Joe for your service on this. I love this format. Just coming in and thinking about the sort of, you know, assets and liabilities, and the personal experience I was kind of thinking of is how using active addiction moved my assets into being liabilities. So a lot of, you know, at work and just in life, you know, I could be counted on as being like reliable, you know, good timekeeping, things would get done, commitments I would make, you know, I would see through, and how much active addiction really just took that towards the end of the road. Just, you know, not turning up, not seeing through commitments. And in recovery, one of the early things, Paul's suggestion was, you know, pick up service early and sort of reintroduce that idea of making a commitment and seeing it through into life and turning that, you know, asset that became a liability back into an asset again. And certainly, you know, the more and more I'm going through the program, 62 days today, I'm sort of, you know, realizing that more and more, sort of reclaiming these old assets that was sort of taken away. There's my key tag as well. Thanks, Paul. So yeah, it's just been about a process of realizing the assets again, and, you know, making use of them. But yeah, cheers.
Thanks, Barry. I just had a thought there as well, because you know, because see, when you were talking about like you know, still like, so if those of us who kind of kept working and are using, you know, and could still produce, you know, any assets when we're put through that filter of like the guilt and shame of using were just distorted. So any assets were no longer assets, even if they were, you know, and it was like, it was only once, you know, only once I got clean and started to, I don't know, it's weird. They're hard things to spot. They're hard things to spot, but a lot easier when you're clean. Sorry, I just went off. Jericho girls, please come in. I think Matt is doing the unmuting, but I'm not sure. There you
Hi,
go.
Paul. Hiya.
I'm Moira.
I'm an addict. Thanks to you and Frankie and Matt and anyone who's done service. Yeah, I'm just thinking about my current situation actually with assets and liabilities. I've been in treatment now 3.5 months, and assets, just thinking there when you were talking about that, would be, you know, perseverance, endurance, and, you know, being thorough. I'm kind of putting that towards my step work, and obviously being in the treatment environment. My current liability would be my moods go up and down quite a bit, and when they go down, I go into myself, switch off. I find it difficult to listen to people, so like somebody could be speaking in my head somewhere else. That's a liability, and it's quite clear to tell that when somebody's not engaging properly, you know, and that's definitely a big thing for me. And especially when you're living with people, I find that quite challenging. It's something I need to be aware of. That's me.
Thanks, Moira. Thank you very much.
Joe, did you have something else to contribute? Your hand went up.
Yeah, it did. Hi, I'm Joe, I'm an addict.
Joe.
So I'm a wee bit premature. I was actually thinking of the next one, but I suppose this does pertain. So one of my liabilities, right? So I volunteer with this one person, right? And I'm an NA and I'm trying to work a programme and I try and apply spiritual principles, and this other person doesn't. And I think when you first come into the fellowship, or when you're first trying to learn all this stuff, you're kind of a wee bit judgmental when other people aren't doing that, you know, and I kind of struggled with accepting that, you know, this works for me and that's great, and, you know, it's not everybody else's cup of tea. So there's this one guy that I volunteer with Monday to Friday, and I was going home in pain every day of the week, and it was, you know, just because I felt I was judgmental, you know, I felt his behaviour was off the wall, and I felt that, you know, the language he used was quite damaging, and I was trying to get him to change, you know, instead of accepting that, just accepting him, you know, and realising it's me that needs to change. You know, I need to be more tolerant and more patient and all these things. So yeah, so that was maybe an example. Yeah, thanks, Frankie.
Thanks, Joe. Can we get Callum in as well, Frankie, please?
Yeah, of course we can.
Yeah, Thanks, Paul. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, I'm Callum. I'm an addict. Yeah, I want to just put my feet up all day and just listen to music and zone out. That's what I want to do. What I need to do is what's been suggested to me by my sponsor, which is pray, meditate, do all that stuff. And from somebody who just winged life, just bounce from one catastrophe to another, I can do that clean as well. I've got structure and discipline now. They were just missing totally from my life. I had no structure, no discipline, therefore stuff got done whenever I had the inclination to do it, which was very rare, really. That's what comes up for me, just from that one sentence. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Callum.
Thanks, Callum. Yeah, I often heard it from people. You get people who come in, they've been, as Joe says, around 3 months or so, they start working with normals, or they're working with people in recovery or something, and you always hear them share at meetings where they say, don't you think the world needs a 12-step program? You think, for fuck's sake, imagine if the whole planet was like us. You know, how mad would that be? You know, it's a little bit like that thing about when they say, could you imagine if everybody on this meeting decided to go out and use? Think of all the carnage we'd cause. You know, it's like, so, you know, yeah, I really hear what you guys say. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because I want to jump a couple of lines down, because where is it? I'm going a bit blind here. Line number 9, which is the beginning of the next paragraph, where that symbol is, the responsible, productive, drug-free lives of thousands of members illustrate the effectiveness of our program. Now, regardless to what anyone thinks, it's working for a lot of people, whether they work the steps or not. You can come to NA, but engage in recovery, the thoughts of recovery, and you can get recovery. It's just one of the things I've learned. The more recovery you get involved with, the better and bigger recovery you have. And going through with this, I don't trust line number 13. I don't know about you guys, but I don't trust it. As a fellowship, we love and cherish one another, supporting a new way of life together. I see that at the end of conventions when we're all holding hands and we're all singing the Serenity prayer, which sounds a bit like the Borg. But, you know, I'm not really sure. I prefer the smaller units myself, personally. Maybe it's different for others. But the one which I wanted to look at, why have I lost this? Hold on, bear with me. As we go on to the exit liabilities. Yeah, it was coming on to the next one, that as we grow to come and understand humility as acceptance of both our assets and our liabilities. Could we look at the word humility, Joe, please?
Hi, I'm Jo, I'm an addict. So humility, the quality of having a modest or low view of one's importance, freedom from pride or arrogance, destruction of ego.
Thank you. Now, hopefully everyone got that. Can we have some experience? I know this is a what they call it. This is a double-edged sword, isn't it? Asking someone to share on their humility is something. So how do you stick your hand up and go, I'm humble, me? So can anyone? Otherwise, I'll kick it off, and I'm sick of my own voice. So could we have some people come in and share some experiences on humility? Their experience of their own humility. I know with myself, I've just to kick it off, I took on a greeting position when I thought I should be a secretary, you know, and that was, we're in early recovery here, you know, it's nice to be a greeter, but I wanted to be secretary. So you have to, it's learning to do the appropriate thing for the right time. So
nice. Kat, I think you're up, and then Earl. Good to see you, Kat.
Yeah, good to see you. I haven't done one of these meetings before, so I suppose that's kind of experience of humility. You know, I'm terrified I'm gonna share back wrong and everyone else think I'm an idiot, you know, and my pride and ego is what would stop me, you know, taking that risk of putting my hand up. What a personal experience of it, you know. My pride has been a really big problem in trying to get into recovery, and times I've been in recovery before. I know, you know, a lot of people, I'll hear a lot of people say they hate doing main chairs or taking meetings, and oh my God, I loved it, you know. I didn't like doing greeting positions, but anything, I suppose anything with a bit of power, especially, you know, I was in some areas where the chair got to pick who shared. They didn't just open the meeting, they would go, right, would you like to share? And it was just a sense of power over other people and newcomers. I know newcomers would kind of look at the person sharing like they were in charge. And yeah, that really kind of went to my head. And things do. So I know, I'm aware I've got a big ego. And do we do cards in this meeting or just
This one, what now?
Yeah, like if I talk too long, will someone wave?
Oh no, just what we're doing, Kaz, just a couple of minutes each, and then you can
Yeah.
back in
Okay.
at any time.
Yeah, no, it's just I'm scared of rabbiting on too long, but yeah, that's what came up for me.
Thank you.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you.
Okay, we got Earl, then Leon.
Yeah, I'm an addict again. Yeah, thank you. I'm just picking up on the word humility, and one of the things that my sponsor that he likes to throw out about humility is something that's accredited to C.S. Lewis, actually, about and his way of describing it of thinking of oneself less, but not thinking less of oneself, and that's always tended to work for me. And I know that because it is strange, because I've always thought, well, how are you meant to do a share on humility? It's almost like a paradoxical, really, isn't it? Yes, I'm really humble and I'm going to tell you all about it. You know what I mean? Flipping. But yeah, it's what we do in the fellowship, isn't it? It's what we do in meetings. And I find it really hard, actually, sometimes listening to people who want to pick that particular topic and share for 20 minutes on how they perceive to be humble and what have you. But I do acknowledge in myself now that I am able to actually think of others before me, whereas prior to finding recovery, I couldn't do that. It was all about me. And I might feign that I'm actually paying attention to what you want to say to me, but there's always a motive behind it for me. And I do believe that today, and again, I don't get this right all the time, but more often than not, I am able to actually, okay, I'll just listen to you and I don't feel the need to actually correct you or tell you that you're wrong or I've got a better way of doing things or all this type of stuff, you know what I mean? I'm able to actually, I think with my partner's probably the most obvious one where I know that I get to practice this, where the longer we've been in a relationship, I'm able to put her needs and feelings and her wants before mine, where I don't feel the need to say, no, but we was going to do this, I want this. Okay, if you want to do that, cool, let's do it, man. You know what I mean? And that is a sea change in how my behaviours were in active addiction and early recovery. And I can still do it every now and then. But as I say, I like to think I'm able to practice a bit of humility more often than not when I know that it's, yeah, I'll finish on this. This is another thing my sponsor drums into me, that what is it he says now? What's his words? Something along the lines of that's the perfect state that we're actually looking for, to be humble. to have some humility about us in all our affairs, and it's really flipping hard. It's really hard. Yeah, that's my experience anyhow.
Thank you, Earl. That's brilliant. Paul's gone off to the little person's room. He's gone to Pathfind, I think. Leon's up next.
Thank you, Frankie. My name's Leon. I'm an addict. And just on the humility, I'll share about a time I kind of had to force myself to practice humility, and that was after my last lapse, and I got myself straight back into a live meeting, and I'm picking up a light keyring, and suddenly somebody who was 60 or 30 days, somebody I wasn't too keen on, is now 60 days in front of me, and I had to really, even though I did not want to practice humility, congratulate that person. And yeah, it's just better for your spirit. 8 months down the line, I'm glad I kind of forced myself to practice it in that situation. I think it's just better for your spirit in the long term. And yeah, just by practicing it, you start to learn how to hopefully be more humble in the future. But that's that, Frankie.
Thanks, Leon. Tommy, we'll be picking you up in the next one. So just one of the things around humility, which I come to understand myself, is when I've done a lot of shares whilst being in NA, and one of the main things about when we share an experience is sharing, but not overblowing it, not exaggerating it. You know, you hear people, they're always the worst addict in the world. You know, their dealer was, you know, the Colombian cartel. And, you know, you've never, you know, I had this thing in a meeting once where I'd shared that my recovery was so difficult. I'd been to 8 treatment centers as well as prison. And then the guy next to me shared that he'd been to 17 treatment centers, like it was a competition. You know, so humility is basically try not to overblow it and try not to undersell yourself. It's what we learn to do. It's like, it's not about, you know, bowing my head all the time and trying to act like I'm some kind of Buddhist priest. But it's just being honest and truthful with oneself and not over exaggerating. So what I wanted to jump to next basically is line number 20. Is that okay with the group?
Sure.
Then we go to line 20 is we need to avoid old thinking patterns, both in the ideas and the tendency towards complacency. I think, Earl, we learnt the same thing from our sponsors in the States. My sponsor used to say, come place your arse on this seat, you know, as in complacency. Joe, could you tell us what complacency is? And then we'll have 3 people come and share experience around their complacency.
Yep. Hi, I'm Joe, I'm an addict. Complacent, marked by self-satisfaction, especially when accompanied by unawareness of actual dangers or deficiencies. And it goes on to say, refuse to work to improve and overly content.
That's a cracker, isn't it? Refuse to
Yeah.
work to improve. You're told to come here, get a sponsor, get a service commitment, attend meetings, read the literature, and some people just rock up, which is complacency. That's the example of it. And it's totally up to them if they want to. So can we have some examples so I don't have to share my own?
Sally, please come in, and Tommy, put your hand up again. I think it was Tommy had his hand up.
Yeah.
On you go,
Thank
Sally.
you. Thank you. Thanks, Paul. Thank you for everybody's service as well. Thank you, Frankie. I think what came to me straight away is just talking about is avoid old thinking patterns. And even sometimes I don't even realise I'm doing it, and it's kind of catching myself on that. So I looked at my 108 days, and still really early in. So just bear with me because some of it might not make sense. I'm just trying to remain calm and just say what needs to be said. Because my old ways of thinking very quickly make me think it's okay to do what I'm doing then, and it's not okay. And talking about like the tendency towards complacency, that is what took me out the door basically, because I felt self-satisfied that I knew everything, and that NA wasn't going to do anything more for me. And that was just the harsh reality. I wasn't prepared to do the work. And so let go. And, you know, very quickly, it sent me back out the door, you know, and I've learned a harsh but needed, valuable lesson. And that's kicked me up the arse. And I thought I'd been kicked up the arse back in 2019. But you just I've got to keep doing this. And I stopped. So they could basically, for me, was quite a gradual feeling, but interesting that the description, the definition talked about feeling fully content or overly content. And I can remember feeling overly content, and I never put the two together. So that has helped me massively tonight, that actually feeling so overconfident, better than thou, which I don't think that's the way I looked at it, you know, towards everybody. But obviously my ego played a part in that, you know, massively. But that's obviously, you know, what I'll be looking at. But the old thinking pattern, very quickly, I'll just end on this. I've learned really another valuable lesson I've learned in this past 24 hours. My uncle, bless him, is really, really ill. He's in hospital, and he's on an end of life pathway, bless him. His heart failure, he's got organ failure. And this all started last night. So I had some really bad news. And somebody's talking about moth to the light, and I think I could do this all on my own. That's madness, the insanity of it. Come on, I can't, you know. And so I should have phoned my sponsor last night. I got another sponsor because of the things I go into. She's absolutely amazing, and I wish I'd called her last night, because the conversation we had today after I was being at work, I got myself out of bed, but took myself to work with all these horrible old feelings, and I wanted to do something about them now. I didn't want to deal with them. I was struggling to sit with it. Anyway, work was a great distraction, not always a positive one. I rang her on the way home. By the time I got home, I was just sitting there going, yeah, I can't do this on my own. Boom. You know, because before that I would have gone off and got my head, you know, up my arse and caused chaos and you know, anyway. So yeah, I'll leave it there, but it's just a case of that, yeah, that sentence, massive, and the definition I totally could connect with. Amazing. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Sally. And Callum?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. So I've got loads of things running through my mind, but just one particular one is I went shopping. Well, I didn't go shopping. I went to fix a medallion about 5 months ago or something, a Serenity Prayer medallion. It was going to cost me about £10 to fix. And as I was on my way to town, I was telling myself, I'm not going to spend a load of money on shit that I don't need. Promised myself, sincerely promised, I'm not going to do this. And spent 800 quid on stuff that is going to laptop, new phone, and it's just bits of furniture. But stuff I'd managed to do without for the first 4 months of being clean, and could have done without for the rest of the time. You know, I had a phone, I had a laptop. It just that idea that if I tell myself I'm not going to do something, that idea never worked when I was fucking using. So it still doesn't work just because I'm not using. It's the fact that I think I can tell myself something like that, and it will just be okay. That's the script I'll run off. Whereas I always give in to the urge to fix. Yeah, that's what comes up to me. Complacent, not telling anybody else, not owning it. I didn't own that stuff to anybody else. Didn't pick up the phone, talk to another addict, didn't phone my sponsor. Just ran with it and ended up spending a load of money I didn't really need to at the time.
Thank you, Callum. Thanks for sharing. Please come in, Tommy.
Yes, my name is Tommy. I'm a recovering addict. This is my first time at this meeting. Someone sent me the link on WhatsApp, and so I decided to come in. So I don't know the format. I don't understand. I'm just listening. I don't really. So yeah, I wanted to share a little bit of humility, but it's okay. I could share on line 20. You know, my old thinking patterns. I sometimes feel that you know, like someone said, that certain things and certain issues that come up in my life, that because I've been clean a while, that I could handle it by myself. And that type of thinking always gets me in trouble. no matter how much clean time that I have, I cannot do things by myself. I still cannot trust my own thinking all the time. I still have to run my thinking past my sponsor and past other people lots of times before I do things, because sometimes my thinking convinces me that I can do something, and then when I do it, I find out that it was the wrong thing. So my old thinking patterns is, I still think that I sometimes can convince myself to do something without asking anyone, without getting any suggestions, just going by just answering, coming up with issues and answering it myself and dealing with it by myself. And that's a problem. And when it comes to complacency, I'm at work now. I work a lot. And sometimes I think that because I have enough clean time that I could sometimes, when I get a lot of overtime at work, I choose to take the overtime and make money, and it jeopardizes my recovery. I learned in this program, my recovery comes first. But sometimes I put my job ahead of my recovery, and I pay the price for it, because I think that because I've been clean long enough that I can work more, and when I work more, I spend less time in meetings and with my sponsor and doing work, and so my recovery, I pay the price. I pay the price. There's a price to pay when I choose my job and working and making money over my recovery. So that's where my complacency comes in, and I need to be careful with that. I need to sometimes choose recovery over work, and sometimes I don't do that. And but I'm aware of it, and I'm doing my best to remedy and take care of that situation. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you,
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you for sharing your experience. That's beautiful. Paul, can we have Matt, and then we'll move
Matt,
on?
Of course.
Yeah, hi, I'm Matt. I'm an addict.
Hey, Matt.
So complacency for me at the moment is with step work. I know that working through the steps, working through the program is the solution. But because of all the stuff that it brings up for me, it's easy for me to become complacent about it, because I think, I'm clean. So do I need to do the work? Do I need to continue through that? And I know that the answer is yes, but I forget. I forget when Joe, in the definition, it says the unawareness of, what was that? Unawareness of actual dangers. I forget about the dangers of my active addiction so fucking easily, and my complacency just masks it by justifying, well, I've been clean now for 18 months, I'm doing well. I don't want to sit down and have to go through all this stuff, go through all this pain, but it's the program, So yeah, complacency for me is it's really relevant at the moment. Yeah, I'll pass it back there.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
As a sponsor and sponsoring a couple of people for quite a few years, there becomes some common threads that go through, and there's a few. I just want to share these because these are different things that I've said to sponsees. One is, and I think Tommy put it beautifully, can you hear yourself? The amount of times I've had sponsees ring me up and have a fantastic idea, and I'd say to them, can you hear yourself? Or the other thing I say to them is, come on, me and you together, let's find the person who's doing this to you and we'll beat them up. And that's the shortened version of that is who put you up that tree, but I wanted to share those because they're just common ones, and maybe you guys can grab hold of those and work with those yourselves, so because they've only been passed on to me. If we can go to line 22, sorry Paul, I don't have a line number. If while practicing these principles, we allow ourselves to feel superior or inferior. We isolate ourselves. Bit of a broad one, this. Can we have some examples around isolation in recovery?
Anybody want to come in on that? Any of the girls in the treatment centre? I'd be really keen to hear from you guys as well, but anyone? 3 hands. Examples of isolation in recovery. Okay, Kat.
Thank you. Yeah, God. I've experienced that quite a few times in recovery, isolating myself, and you know, I can be quite introverted. So it's to start with, if I've been around people a lot, it feels really nice just to have that sort of time to myself. And I'll say it, you know, anything self-indulgent, I'll call it self-care. And the most recent, the most devastating experience of it was actually all of that. I allowed myself to feel separate, to be honest, superior to people. Yeah, and stopped doing meetings and didn't want to hang out with NA people anymore. You know, I felt that I was moving on from it. So yeah, I isolated myself from that. And my thinking gets more and more detached from reality the longer I isolate myself. And either it gets painful enough that I go back to meetings, or it gets painful enough that I act out in some way. And this time that I'm talking about, you know, it got painful enough that I just convinced myself, decided to have a beer, and actually going back to complacency. And it's ridiculous that I had alcohol in my house at 2 years clean, you know, in case somebody, because I was seeing this guy, is that in case he came round, and then I could offer him a beer like a sophisticated person, you know. So when that feeling of I can't stand this anymore came on me, I had a drink, and then within an hour I was out scoring. But that was after, you know, a significant number of days of isolating. So that's the extreme example of what happens to me.
Thank you, Kat. Absolutely great. I love that you mentioned reality, as well as a line in the text which says that it's our connection to reality. The more meaningful our connection with reality is, the reason we don't have to use, which kind of just about sums it all up, which I love. Abby, thanks for sharing, Kat. Abby, please come in.
Yeah, I have a really big problem with isolation, and definitely with inferiority. I feel completely less than other people, and sometimes my attitude makes me seem superior, but I'm not. Isolation is a problem for me, in which I feel since COVID, I've been completely fearful of going out and getting out. I've been to one event in 6 years of a speaker jam, and I haven't left the house. Otherwise, I'll go to the corner to get my cigarettes, and that's about it. So it is, like Kat said, it's a detachment from reality. It completely is. And that's all I got to say.
Lovely, Abby. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I think it's the Jericho girls next. And then we'll get Joe and Joe, 2 Joes.
2 Joes, then we draw the line.
Okay.
Hi guys. Yeah, it's Moira, sorry. Isolation for me at the moment, we don't really get a chance to physically isolate in treatment because we've got, you know, activities throughout the day. We'll have groups in the morning, the afternoon, and we're always on a Zoom in the evening, so we're out to a physical meeting. You know, quite often I'll take myself away to read for a bit of quiet time, which I enjoy. So I don't really see that as physical isolation because we've got lots of things going on. Where I struggle with isolation in here is physical isolation, and I'll go into myself and I'll feel less than, I'll feel separate, I'll switch off. Externally, that comes across as being rude and being abrupt. And so it's something I really struggle with, is internal isolation right now, not so much physical isolation. Thanks.
Thanks for sharing, Moira. And is it Joe A first? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Hi, I'm Jo, I'm an addict. Yeah, similar to what Abby was saying, it was that I always felt inferior, and that kind of separated me from the women in this fellowship. And it's the lack of self-worth, you know, and always comparing myself to other women. You know, I was never going to match up to what I thought I should be, you know, and they probably never seen me like that. It was just how I saw myself, and all the negative self-talk that went with it. And I definitely separated myself, isolated myself, you know, and ultimately led to relapse every time. So yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Joe. And Joe S, would you please come in and share with us? If you can hit unmute. Can you see the unmute button, Joe?
Okay, I'm tired. I'm on my phone and it kind of froze up on me there for a second.
Okay.
Good afternoon. I'm an addict named Joe. Grateful to be in the process of recovery. I'm out of Wilmington, North Carolina. You know, and I just got on here, man, because I love that accent y'all have. You know, I'm going to be biased. I love that accent, but the beautiful thing about it, I love this meeting, man. You know, what got me clean was meetings like this, of breaking down and getting, you know, because the literature talks about the understanding and the application, the understanding of what I'm reading. You know, in the Living Clean book, it talks about the fellowship, how we come from all different thoughts, we come from all different ideas, we all don't think the same, we all don't see the. Actually, in the basic text, it says the problem with our literature is the language, because we all see it in different ways. You know, and I was looking at what you just read. I mean, I can talk about everything y'all talked about, so I'm not going to do that. But and what you just read, you know, that complacency and that last sentence that you read, to me, that's talking to me. That's talking to people that's been around for a while. See, it says, as I work the principles. See, there's a part of this program that's not written that we talk about, but it's in the program. It talks about that ego. Now I've got some time clean. Now I know. And then, you know, at one time I found myself going to meetings and they don't know nothing. So I stop. I go home. Well, they don't know what they're talking about. So I go home because I thought, and that goes along with that complacency. So I was self-satisfied with what I knew, and I thought I knew it all. But then when I found some stuff, and I said, well, you know what, I'm not really working on that. You know, why I'm not working on it? And it made me feel less than. See, I suffer from a disease that's undiagnosed. I suffer from high esteem, and I suffer from low self-esteem at the same time. You know, and I've got to understand that these are some things that happen. That's that recovery part of the program that I learned. You know, the basis behind the program is not using. That's the basis behind the program, is not using. But as I continue to stay here and start working some steps and start going to meetings, start getting involved with the people, I learned about that recovery part. I used because of the way I felt. You know, I remember a few years ago, I had 5 bypass surgery, and I had about 5 years clean, 6 years clean, and I had 5 bypass surgery, and I went through a depression. that was, you know, and I was telling everybody, I'm okay. And I was finding my mind starting to think, you know what? I know how to get out of this. Do what I did for 35 years. So I'm only coming up on 17 years clean, but I'd used for 35. So now I'm thinking, you know, wait a minute, where did that thought come from? Whoa, wait a minute. And thank God, well, I choose to call my higher power, that people called and checked on me. And people say, hey, Joe, you need to start going back to the meetings. Because when stuff like this happens, and you don't know what's going on, this meeting keeps me grounded. The number one thing is I ain't used last night. I haven't used today, and I have no desire to use tomorrow, you know. But the only way I keep that is by making meetings. Like, man, I love how y'all breaking everything down on this meeting, man. You know, I may have talked too much, but I just had to say something. I've been listening. I'm at work, and I had to slip in here right quick. Thank you for letting me share.
Great, Joe. Lovely to meet you.
Thank you. There was a story I was told, which was two addicts are on a cruise liner, and they go to a Jimmy K meeting on the cruise liner, and they hate each other. These two addicts are sitting in the meeting, they hate each other, and the cruise liner, it has a crash and sinks, and they're the only two people left, and they swim to this desert island. Two addicts, when they get there, they look at each other, and one says, fucking don't like you, and the other one says, I don't like you either. So they go to the different ends of the island. And they both have learned that going to meetings, it was what keeps you clean. It helps keep you clean. So what they do is they both independently set up their own meeting. They make some stuffed animals, put them in the meeting. They sit there and they do the readings, and they do that for 2 years. And the pair of them both stay clean. One day, all of a sudden, the help comes along, the rescue come along. The old sponsor service comes racing along, and guy gets him and he says, you know, what are you doing? And the guy says, well, every day at lunchtime I have a meeting, I share, I do the readings, I share back to myself. It's helped me stay clean. Goes to the other end of the island and finds the other addict, and he says to him, how have you survived? He said, every single day at 12 o'clock, he says, I have a meeting. He said, I do the readings, I share. He said, that's how I've survived. And he said, man, didn't you know there's an addict at the other end who also takes a meeting, and he's on his own? And he said, yeah, but you don't want to go to that meeting. He's really sick. See, the thing is, it's about being part of. It's about going to the meetings and being part of. What do you contribute? Are you a radiator or are you a drain? You know, thank you, Joe, for what you shared, because that brought that joke on, and I haven't thought of that joke for 20 years. So thank you. So, Paul, can we move to the next page? And I think time check, we've got about, how long we got left?
We've probably got about 15 minutes.
Okay. So, separation 24, separation from the atmosphere of recovery and the spirit of service to others slows our spiritual growth. Can we have some experience shared of how people manage to shoot themselves in the foot?
Just one.
How many toes you got left?
Not many.
Would anybody like to share how they've separated themselves from the atmosphere of recovery? It can be whilst being in the meeting. You know, you can isolate whilst being in the meeting. Okay. In my early days, I'd isolate myself by being in the meeting, by obsessing with the girls in the meeting. Just being honest.
Can we have 3 hands up? This would be good. This is maybe a chance to get a bit lighthearted here. Okay, Chris, you're up.
Yeah, man, definitely. Like, you know, I put the meeting on. I'm Chris from Addict, put the meeting on, and you know, I've had a lot going on. So it's like put the meeting on, and I'm distracted. You know, just like paranoia and that. You know, my mental health took a real bad turn for the worse. You know, I listened to the guy share, and it was, And it was kind of on topics, and you know, I'm just arrogant. I'm just like, oh man, it's a workshop thing. If I'm all honest, I'm just gonna go do my thing. But I need to come to this meeting, man. I'm honest, you know what? Like, clean time don't mean shit in recovery. I'm 5 years clean. And me and my missus the other day, we had a fucking punch up, man. You know, I was acting like a madman. I climbed through my window because she locked me out. We had a fight. She had a knife in her hand. You know, got physical. And I was just really angry, you know. I don't want my missus to hit me. I was just going and fucking hit me. Yeah, there's a topic, man, you know, of blowing up on that one. It's like, you know, we both got clean. She relapsed and I stayed clean, and I stuck with her for a year. And, you know, like, I've given her a hard time, man. You know, we give each other a hard time, but if I'm honest, I've given her a really hard time, and, you know, she keeps relapsing. And, yeah, you know, so I was working my step 3. I was turning everything over. When I get resentful, I'd take out on her. So I started turning it over. I'd hand it to my sponsor. I'd really work on my program around this stuff, man. And then, like, as you do, you cheat on each other, don't you? So she cheated on me, and she's like, I'm glad I cheated on you. I'm just like, okay, I need to take some time out of this one. And I gave her a couple of days space, you know. She was 3 weeks sober as well, and then she picked up, and then yeah, it just went mental again. Then she come to my house. She weren't going to tell me. She come to my house to smash my house up, you know, because I kept bringing her. You know, I already had a hotel booked for us too, so I managed to calm her down and get her to this hotel. And we spent a couple of days there, and yeah, you know, like letting her drink, man. You know, letting her drink, and her wanting me to drink. Like, it's just fucking mental, man. You know, being in a really toxic, chaotic relationship. You know, being clean as well, not acting like you're drunk and crazy, and that's just complacency. You know, not working this program. I don't really want to tell. I don't really like sharing about this stuff. My privacy. Don't tell this stuff. So bring it to your sponsor. I told my sponsor. I haven't used, man, but I don't feel great. You know, for those first 3 weeks, we're both like doing really well. And I said to us, "You're doing so well for 3 weeks. I'm really upset that you've relapsed." And you know, hell broke loose. You know, you get into games. The further you get in, you start playing games with each other. Toxic relationships, playing games. So I'm going to get you. But he cheated on me. So she cheated on me a couple of times. So I cheated on her back. You know, and then we were playing the game. And I got her back, and then she was really hurt. You know, and I didn't have to fall into that game, man. But I did. You know, I wanted to hurt her back, and I didn't need to. And I had a choice. I've done this sober. I slept with another woman sober. You know, and it was grim.
Thank you, Chris. Great to hear from you. We've got Leon next.
Thank you, Paul. Separation from the atmosphere of recovery. My name's Leon, an addict. I shared about this quite a lot at the time, but I used to be sitting in meetings, my home group particularly, sitting gambling away, because I'm doing the meetings on my phone, and sometimes it still happens. I'll get too engaged in texts or social media, and then I realise I've not took a single bit of the meeting in, and I'm thinking, why was I even in the meeting if I'm going to start texting people and sending messages? There's just no point in me being there if I'm not kind of sitting down, tuned in, wanting to take on some of the message, or at least even a small part of the message. It was just pointless. If I'm going to be doing that, I need to give a meeting my full attention, or else it is pointless me being here for myself anyway. But so.
Thank you, Leon. And Stefan.
Hi, I'm Stefan. I'm an addict.
Hello.
It's really interesting what everybody said and the readings and what Leon said. When I'm on my computer and I surf on the web or I shop while the meeting is going on, and instantly I start judging. Oh, this one is saying this one is saying that. That's bullshit. And I don't even listen, and I'm cutting myself from recovery, and what I need to do is come early to the meeting and, you know, listen to the people, listen to the experience, get into the meeting, and then I feel good at the end. And when I do the shopping and not listening stuff, I feel really, really bad. And right now I'm short on meetings because my work, and because my head is telling me that, you know, I have more important things to do. And when my head is speaking to me, it's 100%. It's a losing situation. It's really a losing. I can trust myself. I cannot trust my feelings. I need to trust actions, and I need to trust the others in the meeting. So yeah, that's my everyday life. It's like this every day. I need to be focused, because otherwise, you know, my driving wheel is going to the left. If I don't hold my driving wheel, I'm going to the left. That's I don't have a straight car. I have a, and the result is I'm suffering. I'm suffering, and I get into self-pity, and then you know, the other one pull me another one. So it's really quick. It's super quick, super quick. So but I'm not perfect, you know. Sometimes it's like that, you know, and more or less I'm good. I'm here. I shared. I rose my hand. I did the job. I showed up, and but it's a matter of survival, man. You know, it's really a matter. So right now I'm supporting a friend who's in the hospital. He has a spine disease. You know, they're looking for the disease, and I'm saying to him, yeah, you should go to a meeting, man. You go to a meeting. You're under morphine, you know, because of pain. You're at the hospital. Connect to a meeting, and he tells me, well, I'm not in the mood for the meeting, and he scared the shit out of me. You know, I'm so scared for him, and yeah, it's not even it's a bullet in the head. It's not I'm not shooting myself in the foot. I'm shooting myself in the head. And I thought it was really funny what the story you said before. It was really, really funny. I'm really like that. But now that I'm sharing, I'm really scared of what I said. You know, I'm really am thinking about myself, you know, full of myself, thinking that, you know, the work, you know, I can control the work, and especially for getting out of. I will finish with this. The question before was when I used to come when I came to your meetings first in Aberdeen. I went back to my French meetings, and I was judging everybody. You know, oh, it's not like this. It's not like this. And the only way for me to not shoot myself and get another day clean is to accept to where people are in their recovery. And when I don't, I judge and I execute them in my head. But in reality, I finally execute myself, and that's what I'm looking for. So I don't want to be that guy who wants to kill himself. You know, I want that to be that guy to live and the beautiful side of my life. But the horrible side is always there, and if I don't connect, well, thank you for letting me share. I'm sorry I was a bit lyrical, but while sharing, I felt the importance of that sentence. Really. Thank you guys for hosting the meeting.
Thanks, Stefan.
Paul, we'll do the last two and we'll call it a day. Number 29 and number 30. Joe's going to tell us about number 30 in a minute, but first off, which is the word vital. Hopefully, Joe got my message, hopefully. We need to stay open-minded and willing to do that one extra thing, to go to one extra meeting, to stay on the phone one extra minute, and to help a newcomer stay clean one extra day. Can we have some examples of someone who's just done that? Just one more, just that one extra thing.
Okay, anyone feeling that they're going that?
Otherwise, we pick on the committee. Or we can change the question to how do we stay open-minded?
I don't know. I'll maybe share a little bit on this, just a quickie. I've got this thing, as you know, Frankie, I went back to work recently. So I'm thinking I'm going to miss out on my step work. I read line by line with newcomers and sponsees. And I'm like, so what do? Do I just park up the recovery and go back to work? Or do I put recovery first, like it tells me in the program? So it just came to that point where I had to move the time of my reading, my daily reading with someone else to before I go to work. So now the alarm has to be set a little bit earlier. We're on the call at 8 or 7:30, depending on what day it is. And you know what? It sets me up for the day, like, because other people have mentioned tonight, my step one is asking for help. So I think that's a really kind of, for me, a great example of going that extra mile, not parking, not compromising on recovery, not capitulating like I used to do in my drug use all the time, and just just folding and falling over, but saying, actually, do you know what, this has to come first. So how do we move things around to make it fit? And yeah, that's been practice, because that's not easy, getting up that hour earlier to do that reading. So that's one. I don't know if anyone.
I bet it's not. It's like that other thing of if you're really depressed, you're really fucking depressed. We know how to get out of that in NA. You phone up a newcomer and you say to them, "How are you doing?" And you keep your mouth shut. Then see if you're depressed afterwards. It's quite simple, isn't it? Or you go and do a H&I meeting. I've never met anyone come out of a H&I meeting who's not blown up and exhilarated and got over their depression. Not talking about clinical depression here. I'm just, because everyone gets pissed off with life. A lot of us are short of money. People don't fucking listen, do they? You know, we're powerless over them. You know, so sometimes with depression, that where it says, and help a newcomer stay clean 1 extra day, just the privilege of remembering somebody's name when somebody turns up at a meeting. I remember when somebody did it to me, I was so self-centered. I was like, who, me? Hi. They'd remembered my name. I couldn't even remember the guy's name, but he'd remembered me. But it made me feel welcome. It made me feel part of, you know, and all of these things, what we're reading out is stuff which we do to help us get recovery. It doesn't, you know, it gives us recovery by doing this. And because there's no hands up, we'll go on to 30. And Joe, if you'd let us know what vital means, please.
Hi, I'm Joe. I'm an addict. Concerned with or necessary to the continuation of life or continued existence. Absolutely necessary and essential.
Absolutely necessary and essential to the continuation of life. There you go. This extra effort is vital to our recovery. Whoa, you can't, I couldn't think of a better way to end this. That's quite right. Thank you, Joe, for that. You know, it's kind of pointing out to you, you can do exactly what you want. But this is vital. If you want recovery, if you're an addict and you understand what's wrong with you, this is vital. You know, so yeah. Bring up a newcomer and ask them how they're doing.
Lovely, Frankie. Thank you so much for the workshop. Can we just unmute everyone, Matt, and everyone just thank Frankie for giving us his time tonight. It was great.
Thank you, Frankie. That was brilliant. Loved it.
Yes, thank you, Frankie. Great meeting.
Thanks, man.
Great.
Cheers, Frankie. Thank you.
Mate, is that the Jericho girls clapping? I think it was. It sounded. Oh, listen. Brilliant, girls. Thank you so much. Could you? Well, what we'll do is we'll get the Jericho girls to read just for today, I think. There it is on the screen. You can unmute, girls.
Yeah.
Someone kicking us off?
I'm Nicky, I'm an addict.
Hey, Nicky.
Just for today, tell yourself. Your thoughts will be on my recovery, living and enjoying life without the use of drugs. I will have faith in someone in NA who believes in me and wants to help me in my recovery. I will have a program. I will try to follow it to the best of my ability. Through NA, I will try to get a better perspective on my life. I will be unafraid. My thoughts will be on my new associations, people who are not using and who have found a new way of life. So long as I follow that way, I have nothing to fear. Cheers, Paul.
Have nothing to fear.
Brilliant. And Anne-Marie, or Joe the Plasterer, as you're now known these days, would you close the meeting for us with the usual way? Joe the Plasterer. There you go.
Is Joe the tailor?
Oh, is he a tailor? I keep calling him a plasterer.
Hi, girls. Using the word God. God.
Amen.